Okay, that works. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our next talk series session. We apologize for changing the time on this one, but our guest was a little sick, but he's good now. And now I'm sick, but I'm gonna power through because we couldn't postpone again. So I think everyone here already knows about power to change. So I'll just quickly go over it a little bit just in case someone watches this later. Power to change is a group of us in Taiwan, mostly university students. Yes, I'm a university student, even though I'm older. And basically, we're trying to inspire people to know that they have the power to change in terms of, making the world a better place. So that's the idea. So we're using that as a platform to meet other people who are involved with environmental topics around Taiwan and around the world, actually. So just a little rundown of today. I'll take about 5 minutes to talk about power to change, probably less. And then our guest, Mr. Luvian, will talk about his experience with Ecovillage. And then I'll talk with him, ask him a couple questions. And if there's any Q&A from the audience, we'll do that. So, and then finally, we'll have like a little call to action for you. So as I mentioned, power change, our motivation is to inspire people to realize sometimes it feels like we can't make a change in the world because there's so much bad things going on. And it feels overwhelming. That's how I feel, at least. But if you just focus on something that you care about and move towards that, you can, really make a difference. It's all about finding out what brings you alive, though. So that's what we're talking about. Power to change specifically with Domi, uses the power of business, they say, to combat some environmental problems. So we basically encourage people to change from their their paper bank statements to e-statements to reduce paper waste, because there's so much paper used every year by all of us to get, bank statements, electricity statements, all of these things. So we can change to e-statements that will cut down so much waste, And then when that happens, we have partnerships with banks in Taiwan, and they agree to, with us, use the money they save from sending out the paper statements to help families who are energy poor or have energy poverty. So it's like a win-win-win situation. So us as students, we are trying to promote this idea around Taiwan. So we are using a few different ways. This talk series is one way. So we also go to classes and tell the students about it, the university students, even high school recently. So we just, advertising this idea. And we've been to some festivals and we have booths. We went to a music festival in Thailand last year. You probably heard us talk about that before. And we're trying to expand our social media. So that's a part of this too. And we're doing challenges. This week is Earth Week. So we're doing a lot of Earth Week based challenges. Each day we put out something challenging you to reduce your carbon footprint. So these are just some of the things we do. So today our talk series guest, as I said, is Luvian. He's a friend of mine also. We both went to Dong Hwa University in Hualien. He's finished. I'm still going. Hopefully I'll be finished soon. So he did his master's thesis on ecovillages. And then after that, he lived on one. I'm sure he'll talk more about it. And now he works for Genoa, which is the global ecovillage network. So he will talk about all that. And there's me, you can see. This was recently. Okay, so Luvian, I will give it to you now. Everyone, welcome.
Yay, thanks, Matt. Let me just share my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So, can you see? Okay, cool.
All good.
All good. And yeah, so thanks so much, Matt, for inviting me here and to share about my story. Today I'll be sharing my story. Actually, it's kind of like the whole story of when I was in Taiwan. I'm not now. I've just moved back to Indonesia after 7.5 years being in Taiwan. And this story of me in Taiwan is kind of like a personal journey towards regeneration, integrating regenerative practices into my life. So, and being kind of like a servant, a steward of the earth. So yeah, so before starting, in Genoa, the place I've been, the organization I work in, we always do this kind of like presencing practice, or what we call as attunement sessions. The thing is, it's a practice to help us be in the present moment, so we can be here and be engaged in whatever we're doing. So I'd like to invite you all to just take a moment and sit and adjust your sitting position as comfortable as you can. And also, like, you can start to you can also close your eyes, or if you don't want to close your eyes, you can just rest your gaze and find a spot in front of you that you like to just stare with an easy gaze and with a relaxed and easy gaze. Otherwise, if you like, you just close your eyes and sit relaxed and try to make your spine erect. What I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna read you a poem that I feel resonate with me today. I just found this poem this afternoon, and it's called Grace and the Great Turning by Joanna Macy. Here we go. When you act on behalf of something greater than yourself, you begin to feel it acting through you with a power greater than your own. This is grace. Today, as we take risks for the sake of something greater than our separate and individual lives, we are feeling graced by other beings and by Earth itself. Those with whom and on whose behalf we act give us strength and eloquence and staying power we didn't know we had before. We just need to practice knowing that and remembering that we are sustained by each other in the web of life. Our true power comes as a gift, like grace, because in truth it is sustained by others. If we practice drawing on the wisdom and beauty and strengths of our fellow human beings and our fellow other species, we can go into any situation and trust that the courage and intelligence required will be supplied. That is Grace and the Great Turning by Joanna Macy. And I'd like to invite you to just let that sink in for a little bit longer. Let the words that resonates with you sink into your heart and fuel you for the next moments to come, for the next days to come. And now let's come back. Let's slowly open our eyes and come back into this online space that we have together and just be here and enjoy and relax. Yeah, welcome back, everyone. I'm gonna start my story now. I'd like to start this story from the moment that I just came to Taiwan. It was 2014 in the month of September or something. And I was just fresh out of high school and I got enrolled into this new program called the International Business Administration program in Dong Hwa University. I'm sure some of you know this university, or at least heard about this before. And this program was new, so everything was fresh. I was in a new country. I was in a new program. I was in a new school, new place with new friends. And I was like really excited towards what's coming. And at this point in time, I was like very, very sure and certain and very determined to be a business person, and that I'm here to learn the ways of the business world, learning these courses of management, sciences, finance, accounting, and all of these topics that's related to creating a business to success. And yes, the first year I was like in a very high state, in a very euphoric state, ready to tackle in anything that comes my way, and just be very happy. But then the second year came, and things were different in the second year. Something happened along the way, and my energy shifted. I didn't feel as energized and high as I felt the first year. And I started to feel like the classes that I have doesn't really resonate much with me. For example, like the classes that I mentioned before, like management and finances, I don't feel a sense of connection with it anymore as much as I had the first year. So I was kind of like lost in, I didn't know what I was doing. And in the second year, in that very second year, I think it was in the second semester of that second year, I had this class called sustainability, where we learned about the global social environmental problems like overpopulation, the degradation of the land, through deforestation and habitat loss, and how it affects the biodiversity loss. And there's a lot of things about our ways of consumption creating a lot of pollution in the ocean with plastics, and then the air pollution, and then climate change, ocean acidification, and in the social sphere, there's things like racism, terrorism, and a lot of income inequalities, like income inequalities, gender inequalities, and yeah, we are not thriving. I don't feel like we're thriving as humanity. It's kind of like I've always felt that there's something wrong, and in this class, I kind of like see it in front of my eyes. Oh, these are the things that are wrong in this world. So I tried to learn more about the problems, and then as I tried to learn more, I realized that these problems are very big in scale. They are very complex and interconnected. And this characteristics of the problem is quite overwhelming for me at the beginning. And I felt like I cannot do anything to solve this problem by myself. And so I started to reach out to my friends and share what I've been learning about these problems that I've been learning about to the people around me, and say, hey, we are facing this problem as humanity. Let's do something about it. But a lot of my friends are like, yeah, and they listen to me, but they're like just meh, like they don't really have like interest, or like they just don't really care about it. So I get even more anxious and overwhelmed. Like I felt like, okay, we have no chance as a humanity, given the amount of attention that people are giving into this kind of like quite existential problems that we face together as a species. So over time, I developed like some kind of like depression and anxiety towards what's going on. Felt powerless until one point I felt like, okay, I think my role in this world as a youth is not to probably is less of like telling people about what is the problem, what are the problems, because a lot of people are already doing it, and actually people know already about these problems. So I feel like given that I'm still gonna live a long time, hopefully, I feel like my role is to find the solutions and to live it and to live the solutions. So I started to try to find what are the solutions to these big and complex problems. And as I do my own personal research, trying to find different solutions, I stumbled upon this concept and idea and movement of eco-villages. And these are eco-villages are community of people that decide to live together and design their life in a way that regenerates the social and natural environment. So these people come together and live together and build and do and have like these regenerative practices. For example, they built their houses instead of using like concretes and the conventional way of making a house. They use like natural materials such as mud bricks and straw bales, and they create this like beautiful houses from it. And then the next picture, if you see, this is in the upright. This is the picture from Dancing Rabbit Eco Village in the US. It's in this eco village, they share resources. Well, in most eco village, they share resources, but in this particular one, you can see that they are sharing like their cars. So they have a car co-op so they don't have to buy car for every household. They just share like 2 or 3 cars for the whole community. So they save kind of like buying new cars, which is really cool. And this happens not only in cars, but also in a lot of different things. So people tend to buy new things less in eco-village communities. The third example is Tamira eco-village in Portugal. This is an example of regenerating the ecological landscape around the eco village, where a lot of villages are engaging in. So if you see the picture on the left, bottom left, it's a picture of the Tamera in 2006, and it's the land that they have there is quite somewhat barren. There are some trees here and there, but it's kind of like already turning into desert. And over like after some works, there are some earthworks, and here and there's some intervention by the eco-village community. You can see in 2009, within 3 years, there's already a lake and more trees surrounding it. And this creates more life and more opportunities for different kind of life to thrive there. So this is an act of regenerating that is happening in eco-villages. So for me, the draw of the eco-village movement is that these people within the eco-village movement seem to take matters to their own hands. They understand what's going on in the world, the global social environmental problems, and they decide to do something about it instead of waiting for the government or some other external forces to deal with these problems. And the approach that they are in which they design their life, they approach it in a holistic way. They take into account different dimensions of things, be it the social, the economic, the environmental, the cultural. In everything they do, they take into account all of these things. They also, in eco-villages, also encourage us to connect with ourselves, with each other and nature. And it's also an invitation for us to be fully human in all dimensions of the physical with our bodies, the mental with our minds, the emotion with our heart, the spiritual with our energies, and to be healthy in all of these dimensions. So I was very drawn and fascinated with this eco-village idea and concept. So I decided to slowly, over the 4 years and the last 2 years in my undergraduate life, I started to shift towards learning more environmental and ecological topics. And I applied in the National Dong Hwa University, majoring in humanity and environmental science for my master's program. Where in this master's program, I got to do a research project on an eco-village called Sunclover Eco-Village that is located in the southern part of Hualien. It's the southernmost township called Fuli Township in Hualien, just bordering Taiwan. It is a very new, it's a newly established eco-village. So I was studying, I was focusing on the early stage development of eco-villages in Taiwan, taking sun clover as a case. So to do this research, I engaged in 8 months of participant observation period, where I go to the community and live and work together with them and being involved in their daily life to observe and to gain the data that I need to do my research. And after 8 months, I went back to Dong Hwa, to my university to finish and to complete my thesis and finish my program. And after that, after graduation, I decided to come back to the eco-village and be a full-time resident there for at least a year. And so that's what I did. And our daily life includes doing things like farming. We are farming rice using natural farming methods, which means we don't put chemical fertilizers, not even organic ones, or pesticides and all of those things. So we kind of like let the rice grow naturally. We also, in this year, we also, something exciting is that we also started our garden. So we start to grow our own vegetables by ourselves. So this is like one of the eco-village residents who just harvest our first cabbage, which is very interesting and exciting. And we also process a lot of our food a lot of food produces from our producers and from our neighboring farmers produces to something else. So for example, this is plum that we harvested from our neighboring farm, and we've processed it into plum wine. And for the rice, we processed it into this thing. It's called salt koji. It's kind of like a fermentation of rice and we added some salt, and after it ferments, it can be used as a replacement for MSG. Some of our rice also goes to the factory to be processed further as become noodles, and all of this. We also make miso and rice cakes and some other vinegars and so forth. And a lot of these things we sell it as our income to support our daily life. So this is another thing that I get to experience and engage. This is a building project that in our eco-village, which was 3 rooms that we put in our garage. So through this, like we learn how to build things, use tools like use power tools like the nail guns and the saws and everything. So it was like real fun, and it was like kind of like an experience that I don't normally get to experience. And then we also have some activities sometimes. So this particular one is it's kind of like an outdoor education program that we have for local students, local children, because we realize that a lot of local children actually haven't got the chance to be in nature. And although they are living in this very like beautiful and pristine environment in Lausanne, but a lot of the time they just be in their house, just go to school and come back to the house. So we take them to rivers and the parks and climb trees and all of those fun stuff, and let them be children and have fun in nature. So that was all of the things that some of the things that I'm doing in being part of an eco-village community. While I'm living in the eco-village community, I'm also working part-time in the Global Eco-Village Network of Oceania and Asia, as Matt mentioned before, as communications coordinator. And I've been one of the core tasks is for me to publish newsletters every month, where we compile like news updates, information about the eco-village movement related to the eco-village movement in Asia and Oceania. So there are lots of different things like course opportunities, stories of different things that's happening in the eco-villages, gathering opportunities and this and that, networking calls and this and that. So yeah, and through this, I'm also in Global Eco-Village Network. I'm also part of the kind of like the leadership circle. So we also engage in kind of like the decision making of the eco-village. And through being involved here, I get the chance to connect and network with people that are engaged in different eco-villages in Asia and Oceania. And also simply people that are interested to learn more about eco-villages, and or they are engaged in different regenerative projects in the region. So yes, so with this arrangement of me living in eco-village, in San Clover Eco-Village, and working online with Genoa, for me it's been a very nourishing year because I get to experience and learn about the realities of living in an eco-village. And I also learned to learn various practical skills like building things, like cooking and taking care of a baby and gardening, like a lot of different things that I haven't had the chance to experience before. I got to experience like very local Taiwan culture and environment, the beautiful sceneries that's around there and the beautiful people and interesting people that are there. Then I also like get to connect with the kind of like balance the local, more grassroots activities with kind of like the higher level, not higher for lack of a better term, I'm just gonna say higher now, of the eco-village movement, kind of like the international eco-village movement. So yeah, and I get to build deep, meaningful, and enriching relationship with like-minded friends. I feel so that year was very nourishing for me. And now I've just wrapped up my life in Taiwan, moving back to Indonesia. And this is me in the quarantine hotel. And this is like, second picture is kind of like a snapshot of Jakarta. It's kind of like a very different reality. And it's kind of like a new experience for me too. So yeah, that's where I'm at now. So over this 7.5 years of me being in Taiwan, I think like some of the things that I learned is through this whole story is that like, yes, this problems that humanity are facing today is huge, complex, and very interconnected. And it's not like we have like one single solution that can solve all of the problem. We cannot just like plant trees and hope that all of our problems will disappear. We need to apply like different solutions creatively and simultaneously. So because there's just so many things to do, it's kind of like we need to come into acceptance that we cannot do everything, and we need to learn to know what are the roles that we want to play and what are the gifts that we have to offer to this world. And for me, like to know this, what are the roles that I want to play and the gift that I have to offer is through exploring, seeing, and experiencing. And I think for a lot of this, the audience of this program, Power of Talk series, are mostly like university students. So I think like this is something that is very, that can be like opening and is to explore, see, and experience, which is something that I will recommend so much to do during this point of time. Another thing that I realized that regenerating the world can be very tough and challenging work. But I also came to realize that we're not alone. There's a lot of people out there that are already doing tremendous things for the world. They have been engaging in eco-village projects for 40, 50 years, and they're ready to support new people to come in and help. There are people who are engaging in restoring the ecosystems. They have been turning deserts into forests. A lot of exciting things are already happening. So we are not alone, and there are hope, and there are a lot of hope. And if we just try to connect to that space. So I think I would really give the credit for what I have been gathering so far, experiencing, to these three things. These three things are being in service to something greater than the individual self. It's like to surrender my life for a purpose that is to regenerate this planet and the way we live, and to create new ways of being here in this earth. And then to tune into the heart and learning to listen and trust the inner voice and let it guide my life, even though it doesn't make sense sometimes. Like, for example, oh, I'm gonna go to an eco-village. What about comfort? What about job? What about money? What about this and that? It's kind of like to just to trust that inner voice, and to connect to it and let it guide my life, and trust that all the things that I need will be provided, just like what the poem in the beginning that I shared to you said. So yeah, that is what I have to share to you all today for this moment. And thank you so much for listening and tuning in, being here. And I'm gonna pass it back to Matt.
All right. Wait. Okay, awesome. Thank you, Luvian. That was great. I love that every time we talk or this, I learn something new about you. Imagining you in an accounting class hating it is a funny image to me, because I bet you really hated it. So yeah, and for those who this idea sounds interesting to you, the eco-village that Luvian stayed at is called Sun Clover in Fuli. I put the links to their website and their Facebook page in the chat. I stayed there maybe a month ago for Luvian's going away party. I learned how to plant rice, learned how to do a lot of stuff, met the family that he lived with for a year. And they're very nice people, and they're always welcoming to new people who want to, check it out and, see what it's all about. So if it sounds something interesting to you, you can contact them and see about visiting them. Is that right, Luvian? Anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's great. Nothing to add. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, they're awesome. Jensen is the Taiwanese husband, I guess, and Michiko is from Japan. They're a couple, so really nice people. So yeah, you should check that out. So Luvian, I have a question. So as you know, I'm a city guy, and you come from the city, but I love all the ideals and everything about Ecovillage, and even staying there, I really enjoyed. But for me, at least at this point in my life, I'm not ready to live out of the city like that. Maybe when I'm old. So I'm wondering what you think. How can I apply some of the ideals or I don't know inspirations from Ecovillage living to city life? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure, Matt. Thanks. I think that's a really great question, and I think that resonates with so much people. I think for that, for living, I don't think everyone should live in an eco-village. I think it might not be even. I don't think that's the goal of the eco-village movement, really.
Okay.
The kind of the main point for the eco-village movement is for us to regenerate the planet.
Right.
So eco-villages are kind of like these living laboratoriums, like this kind of like space where people experiment and learn how to live more regeneratively. So for city folks, I would say like one of the things is to come to eco-villages. You don't have to live there. You can just come and experience eco-village for a few days a week, volunteering a month or something like very small level of commitments. Or maybe usually eco-villages are also learning centers. So from the things that they have been experimenting from like say like different practices, like there are things like nonviolent communication, how to talk with each other, you know, in a more compassionate way, or how to resolve conflicts, because people come together, they gain some experience from living so closely together, how to resolve conflicts, and like just gardening and this and so much regenerative activities that are going on, practices that can be actually applied in the city life, especially in the social dimension. So just to come and learn and experience and apply it in the city where you are living. And also like another thing is, well, we all have a lot of decisions to make every day, every single day, right? So one of the things is like, what are the work that you are engaged in doing? So maybe you're stuck with this like job that requires like maybe like you're working in this fossil fuel company or anything, but if you're stuck there, no worries, it's okay. You can still like apply other things that are like regenerative. Like for example, you can like donate your money to a regenerative project or some eco-villages, or support eco-village farmers that are producing organic produce and this and that. You can support regenerative movement by that way if you have to. But also like you can also try to switch maybe what you're doing. For example, like I can see you like already volunteering or working for Power to Change. I think this is like something that's very positive that city folks can already do, being a part of this kind of like environmental campaigns, movements, and this and that.
Sure. Okay, thanks. And then I guess kind of relates that you've been back home for like what, a month now, out of quarantine? Yeah. So
Yes.
wondering like what have you seen as like maybe like one positive and one negative to being back in that space compared to your time in the eco village?
I think that let's start with the positive. I think one thing is for me to be able to connect with the people that I've grown up with a lot, like my family, my friends. I think for me it's kind of like personally it's nice to reconnect, because being in this path of regeneration, I feel like I'm kind of like always like this weird guy in the family, and like I'm doing things very differently, but being able to connect with them and try as humans kind of like allows this opportunity for me to also share what I've learned, to also share about this regenerative idea. Whereas if I'm kind of like built this blockage that I'm different than them, like I'm living regeneratively and you're not, there's no way for this diffusion of eco-village ideas to happen. So I think that's one positive thing. Cool. Negative thing, I think one of the hardest things is to be in, I've been living in this like very pristine environment there in San Clover, with I'm hearing like bird sounds like in the morning, and things are quiet, and and eating healthy organic local food. I feel like connected with the food that I'm eating there, and living here in the and also like I can access like mountains, hiking trails, rivers very easily. So being here in this like in the suburbs of like kind of like somewhere in the city of Bekasi, just beside to the capital city of Jakarta, I don't I have very little access to pristine nature, and the noise have been like was difficult for me in the beginning. Everything is so loud and everything,
Right.
but yeah, but I'm getting used to it now.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense for sure. Back to your positive. First of all, you are a weirdo, but that's okay. Weirdos are good. We need weirdos. Second of all, I'm wondering, like, for me, even like just living here and then going back home, at least like, because I've been abroad for 8 years now, but at least like the first couple times I went, I found it a little bit difficult to like reconnect with friends and family because like I went through, for me, like a pretty crazy experience to live in another country. And I think most of us here have done that now that you're in Taiwan. So it was like their lives have stayed the same, yet I did something like kind of wild. It was like hard to like share how much living here has meant to me. Um, so did you have that, or have you had that at all so far? Like, do you find it hard for people to like resonate with what you're trying to say and like what you've learned here?
For sure, Matt. Well, the transition towards being here is it's quite tough in the beginning. It's kind of like when I just came back, everything's okay, everything's like fun and nice and meet family. But after some time, then there's this thing that I realized that, oh, I'm living very different life, and I
Right,
say like I'm not used to the different things that how different country, like different way of being, like people talk in a different volume, like a lot of cars and no very little connection with nature, pristine nature. So yeah, it was tough, and I was like, I've had my dark days and very difficult days where I just don't feel like going out talking to people.
yeah,
But yeah, for sure. And yeah, there was like a solid like 3 4 days, 5 or maybe even a week that I just like really didn't want to be outside, and just like for the first few months I haven't been I for the first few weeks I didn't talk to reconnect with my friends here, um just like alone doing work,
mm,
and with go out with my family. So I feel like I was like very in this like closed space where I don't want to touch everything that's here because everything's so so not so weird, not familiar.
right.
And but after some time, like when I start to like try to accept things the way it is, the way
Hmm.
it, and accept that I'm here, right? I'm here now. So I
Right.
start to open up and I start to be able to feel more and be alive. I feel like alive, more alive.
Right. Yeah, the acceptance part is the important one. It's difficult, but yeah. So yeah, for you young guys, I think some of you are going home for the first time this summer. So if you feel weird like seeing your friends and family, that's normal. Take it from me and Luvian. Like, it just happens when you're away and you go back because it feels like nothing has changed, but maybe you've changed a lot. So that's just normal, and yeah, you will get used to it, I think. So that's my advice. All right. So does anyone have a question for Luvian or me?
I
Doesn't
actually
have.
got a question here,
Oh,
like
okay.
sent privately to me. So
Okay.
maybe I just like I just read it out loud and see.
Oh, yeah, I see it too.
So
Does
the
it say,
question
can you
is,
tell us about that one?
no, it's like, do you encounter any challenges in your new job after a long time studying nonstop? I assume you did work before. Um, well, first of all, thanks for the question. Halloumi, that's the name. um, Yeah, about that. Well, having been studying for a long time and haven't been working in a very professional environment, and
Mm,
not professional, like actually working, of course, I think it's quite challenging because there are pressures, um, there are more pressure, and there's like this kind of like accountability factor that a lot of people are kind of like rely on your work, and then you got paid to do things, which kind of like yeah, gives some pressure. But yeah, I would say like like even until now I'm still not used to it. I'm this like very free person who is like um who is very difficult to stay into schedule, and you know, like go through things like in a very organized way. So yeah, that part is quite challenging, but I'm getting better and better, or at least used to it, the more I do it. And I have very supportive friends and colleagues, which is very helpful, and I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, I've had a bit of a similar experience for sure. Okay, next question. Sorry, I will Kampudong Zhongwan. Jang something something says, can you tell us about more about the concept of regeneration? Why not words like rejuvenate, metamorphosis, rebirth?
Oh, thank you so much for this question. I actually want to talk more about this in my presentation, but I feel like I have other things to say. So yeah, thanks for this question. Well, the concept of regeneration, for me personally, is very fascinating because, well, the word regeneration itself basically means like to, like the way the regenerative movement interpreted is kind of like basically to turn something that are to create conditions that are conducive to life. So one imagery that is so easy that helps to understand this concept is like desert. So when you see a desert, you see like very little life can happen in the desert. Maybe there are some cactus, few varieties, there are some lizards here and there, but very few. And when we regenerate, that means like we turn this place, like desert that have like very few little life in it, to something like forest, which have like space for different life to thrive and prosper. In forest, you see different kind of like species of trees and plants. You see like the different layers from the grass, the bush, the shrubs, and the small trees and the big trees, the tall trees, and then like there are the vines, and there are like underground in the soil, there are like different bacteria, microbes, fungi, and there are also like different animals, small insects, small mammals, big mammals, reptiles, amphibians, a lot. So this is kind of like the concept of regenerating, creating creating a space, designing space that creates more life, that lets a lot more life to thrive. That's kind of like an ecological sense, but there's also like you can interpret it in a way. Regeneration is not only exclusively ecological. In the social realm, its regeneration means like to create a sense of more connection. So for example, like living in the city, sometimes like what I feel personally is like create us to be like more individual, thinking more individualist way of thinking, and feel like we are alone. A lot of the time I feel like alone. Like I don't even know my neighbors when I was living in Taichung. Like, and there's like this like very little sense of connection with the people that's around us. And everything is kind of like transactional and kind of like professional. Okay, you're the service lady, so you're the service lady. I pay you to do like some cleaning service in my room or something, or the apartment, and that's kind of like just the relationship that we have. So with that, like regenerating means to like to connect, to like build more relationship, engage deep and nourishing relationship with different people, and create, because when we have like this rich relationship, then we are more keen to support each other. So kind of like this building this like network of support and help each other to evolve and grow and thrive. So those are like some some aspects of the idea of regeneration. I hope that answered your question. And if you have more, you can ask some follow-up question about it.
Yeah, so it's good. Yeah, I mean, I think it goes really deep, right? Like you could read a lot about this if you want, right? So hopefully
Yeah.
that's the basic answer for you, Sang. Okay, don't be shy, guys. I think we have time for one more. Anyone else? There's your chance to ask someone who lived on an eco village. Oh, Cindy.
Hi, Luvian. This is Cindy, and thank you for your speech first. And I want to ask two questions. The first one is, after this 1 year of living in an eco village in Taiwan, do you plan to live in another eco village in the future or for the rest of your life? And another question is that because we can see from your speech that there are so many benefits about living in the eco village or living this kind of lifestyle, but do you find it difficult to fit in at first, or do you find it hard to, are there something that is hard for you at first when you first move into eco village? Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Those are very great questions. I'm excited to answer them. First of all, about the first question, whether I want to, now that I'm back in Indonesia, whether I want to live in another eco village for the rest of my life. Well, for me now, I'm in a phase of like where I'm like very open to whatever is whatever wants to happen with me. I'm in this phase where I'm kind of like exploring what are the regenerative activities and the regenerative movement here in Indonesia. I'd like to connect more with them. Like maybe there are, to my knowing, there's not a lot of kind of like more intentional communities, meaning like people that kind of like build an eco village from scratch in Indonesia. I know there are some in Bali. I've visited them before. But I don't think I'm gonna be in that particular one. But there are also indigenous communities, which I'm planning to just like visit them this coming weekend. So these are indigenous communities in Indonesia, have been living very sustainable lifestyle for their whole life and for the existence of their culture. So I'd like to explore that and learn and experience that too. And in terms of like whether I want to live in an eco village in my life, for me right now at this point, I would say like that's the only way I can imagine living. So once I feel like I'm settling down, I think it'll be in an eco village somewhere. Not sure where, not probably in Indonesia, probably in a different country, but let's see, or maybe I'm gonna start one. Let's see. So I'm at the point of just anything can happen. And it's quite exciting too. The second question is like, there's a lot of benefits in eco village, and whether I've faced any challenge. Well, for sure, yeah, because one of the things that I learned about being in an eco village is about the realities of being in an eco village. Well, in the beginning, I was thinking that, oh, like if I have this kind of like utopian ideas that draw me to eco villages, is there's this mentality that I have or thought that I brought along with me that, oh, if I just live in an eco village, all of my problems will go away. And I learned that after living there, that it's not that way. It turns out there's a lot of problems and challenges that we face in the daily life too. Like for example, like living in an eco village, one of the challenges that we face is like, how do we sustain ourselves financially? This is like a very kind of like a very basic, a lot of eco villages are having challenges with, because we feel like the current economic system is doesn't serve us, and it's kind of like by nature is extractive and and kind of like it's extractive and consumptive, and then we produce a lot of waste, kind of like the linear economy. Although we so how do we like create this more circular economy kind of like ecosystem, given that we are embedded in a linear economic model? So those are like a lot of like some of the challenges, one of the challenges. And I think like for me personally, the challenge is kind of like quite within myself, kind of like an inner challenge. It's like, for example, like one of the things is to be able to communicate with people. So for example, it turns out I realized that through living with people, I realized that I haven't learned how to communicate what I'm thinking, feeling in a way that's effective and letting other people know what's going on with me. And sometimes this creates like a lot of like confusion and problems because we're living so closely together. If I'm not feeling good and I don't communicate what I'm feeling, people will be like, why do you have such bad face the whole day? Why do you like why do you put the mug in a certain forceful way unconsciously or something like that? Like people pick up on this kind of like atmosphere, and it will like what I'm feeling and thinking, it will affect the community. So like I'm not used to communicating that, so I get some feedback, and I learn to try to communicate what I'm feeling, so that people know how to deal with me at that day or something like that. Well, there's always like tons of things to share, but I think I'm gonna leave it there for now, if that's okay with you.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Thanks for the questions, guys. It's always more fun if you guys can interact and we can, yeah, have these kind of talks. So thanks for sharing. And if you think of something else you want to ask Luvian later, he's going to share his contact. I'm sure he would love to hear more from you. So feel free to reach out to him. So now it's time for our call to action. So one from each of us, me and Luvian. So power change. I think most of you guys have already done it, but I mentioned before about our mission to change from paper bills to e-bills. That's our main thing. And we need to tell the banks that more and more people support this idea. So if you're in Taiwan and you haven't done this before, it would be a great help for us if you could scan this QR code, and it takes literally like 30 seconds to fill out. And it's basically, you're just telling the bank that you support our idea. It doesn't mean you're actually changing to e-statement. You need to do that yourself by telling your bank, that you want to do that. So if you could, the link is in the chat or QR, and yeah, just fill that out. And the more numbers we have, the more we can accomplish with our mission. And you should also actually change your statements to reduce the paper waste. So thank you for that. And also, if you are interested in being a volunteer with us, the pictures I showed at the beginning where we talk to classes, we go to events, and we try to build support for this idea, you can, apply to join us as a volunteer. So we have a team in Taiwan, Thailand, Japan. Soon we'll have Paraguay also. So yeah, you're welcome to, even if you don't live in these countries, you can still, join and see what we're up to, and maybe, get some inspiration for something else you want to do as well. So there's that. And I will switch to Luvian really quick for his call to action. Oh, let me stop sharing.
Okay, thanks, Matt. I'm just gonna share this. First, this is, we're in Genoa. We have this, we're offering this.
Can't see.
Can you see?
No.
Oh, let me just.
I can do it if you want me to.
Okay. Can you see me now?
Yes.
It should come out. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, so for those of you who are still exploring about like how do I contribute to make change, and how do I contribute to this regenerative movement? So here we in Genoa, we are offering this course. It's a 6-month, it's called Regen Nations. It's a whole systems design course for regeneration. And it's a 6-month long online journey. And it's just gonna start very soon. It's gonna start in April 25th. So kind of like a few days from now. So I'd like to encourage you to take a look at it. It's kind of like a course that have been designed very richly. It takes you to the 4 dimensions of the regeneration, from the social, economy, cultural, and also ecological dimension, and explore, like, there are like different experts from the regions to share about how to navigate and what to do, basically. So it's a very cool course and a very rich one, and I will really suggest for you guys to check it out and see if it makes sense for you to join this at this point in time. That's Regenerations. And next one, I'd like to share about my organization. I'm working with the Global Ecovillage Network of Oceania and Asia. What I'd like you to do is, if you like to subscribe to our newsletter by just writing this in your URL, bit.ly/subscribe-genoa, and it will lead you to a form to subscribe to our newsletter. And as I said, this newsletter is published every month to share with you about all of the information and updates regarding the eco-village movement and the regenerative movement in the region. And it's kind of like there's a lot of information about opportunities of working sometimes, work opportunities, opportunities of like courses and this and that. So I think that's kind of like a very rich information for you to get in touch with us, the regenerative and eco-village movement in Oceania and Asia. You can also go to our social media handles and follow us there for more info, which is on Facebook and Instagram. And next, I think this is kind of like a personal offering that I'd like to offer to today's participants. I'd like to offer 2 sessions, one session for 40-minute one-on-one session for 2 of today's participants, or people who watch this through live stream too. And I'll be open to just engage with you in a conversation about anything that feels alive with you at this point in time. We can talk about things like regeneration, eco-villages. If you're feeling some kind of like eco-anxiety, I can be there to listen and offer my support. And if you're like wanting to learn more about like how to transition towards a more regenerative way of living, I can share with you the experiences that I've learned and what the things that I've learned so far in my life. And yeah, to do that, you can just send me an email at luvian.iskandar@gmail.com. You can take a picture of this slide if you like, and it'll be helpful if you introduce yourself and let me know like the intention behind why you'd like to talk to me. That way I can relate with you better before to prepare for the call. So yeah, that's it, Matt. Back to you.
Thanks, Luvian. It's an awesome little offer. So that's a first come, first serve. Whether you're in the Zoom, you see the live stream, or watch the videos later. The first 2 people to email him, he will do it. So if that's something you think you'd get something out of, yeah, send him a message. So that's just about it. I just want to tell you. Okay, can you guys see my slideshow, Luvian?
Let's see.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So upcoming talks. So well, this Saturday it's in Jongwon. So yeah, if you speak Chinese well, you can come to this one. So this is Han Wei Zhang. She's how can you say, change maker, I guess. She works for Taiwan Youth Climate Coalition. and they're doing really big things in Taiwan to push the government to make changes related to climate change. So she has been a Taiwan representative at COP 24, 25, 26. COP is like the big climate conference. Last year, 26, it was in Glasgow, England. So she goes there and meets all these people from around the world who are also trying to make, changes. So if like, policy or social movement is something you're interested in, this would be a good one for you. And even if you can't speak Chinese, she speaks English. So you're welcome to at least join the Q&A session and you can talk to her there. So I think that one's gonna be really cool to hear from her experience. She's done a lot of cool stuff. So yeah, you can scan that QR code or I will send it in the chat also. And then later in May, we have here 2 women from Uproot, which is a Taiwanese startup, even though they're not from Taiwan, they're from other countries, and it's alternative plastic. So they make bioplastic from cassava. I hope I'm saying that right, like a plant. And they're growing a lot every day they want to eliminate, single-use plastic, traditional plastic with this new model. So they're doing a lot of big things too. So just stay tuned to our social media, Instagram, Facebook, Power to Change Taiwan. You can find it and we'll post like the links to register and all that stuff. So you can see all of that there. So last thing, if you guys don't mind, if you could open your camera, if that's possible for you, so we can take a little group photo. If I can figure out how to do that. Okay. All right. Oh, Christina's here. Luvian, where are your friends? They want to put on the camera? It's okay. All right.
I have very shy friends.
That's okay. They're here. That's all that matters. Oh, there you go. Oh, it's
my
it's
brother.
you. I know you. All right. 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right. Thanks for coming, guys. Thanks, Luvian, for your talk. Learned a lot. And remember, you have the power to change. See you next time.
Thanks,
Okay,
everyone.
bye.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Luvian.
Bye bye.